Greetings from the road, it's Freighter Jim. Friday midday, Central California. Established citrus growing region. Just got done loading up this 32 Ford hot rod shop truck. It's going up to Jim. In Seattle, Washington, and after that I'll be available to transport from Seattle. Real Henry steel, the real deal. Jim's been after his friend to sell him this for about 30 years. So we'll finish up loading, and then we got an interview coming up. Hope everybody out there is having a great weekend. Remember, drive safe, arrive alive. Thanks for watching my video. Greetings from the road. This is Freighter Jim. It's beautiful Friday midday. I'm in central Citrus Valley, California. I'm on the west side of 5, and that's all I'm going to tell you. I came here today to pick up a 32 Ford Henry real steel hot rod shop truck that a friend of the gentleman you're about to meet has been after him for the longest time to buy. And finally, the gentleman you're going to meet agreed to sell it to him. So through that, I got to meet Lynn Bird. Now, Lynn Bird, I'm going to give you an introduction because I've never met him. I had never heard of him until I was coming here to pick up, and I did a little bit of research on the internet on him, and he's a legend. And by that I mean, I'm known for my direct manner. Most guys are legends in their own mind, which means they think they're all that and more. And then there's the guys you meet, like Lynn, who are actually legends. He's on the order of Jake Jacobs, Victor Leone, the guy I'm going to take the 32 Ford hot rod shop truck to. These are the guys who are the pioneers of what's known as the hot rod movement. These are the guys that started and continued, and they did it, and they weren't seeking fame or fortune. It's just a pursuit of passion. It's a pursuit of art. And with that, I'm going to kick it over to him, and I'm going to ask him to tell you how he got the bug and who his mentors are and who he looks up to. And with that, I'm going to kick it over to Lynn.
My earliest memory is in the early 60s when the model car thing was a big thing. That's how I got started. I love those model cars. I built a lot of them. And a little bit later, I went into surfing. So when I got back into the hot rods when I was 18, 19, and there weren't a lot of early hot rods at that time. They were starting to build, resto rods and things like that. But I always liked the overpowered 32 Fords and Model A's, whatever. And that's what I got into in around 1970, I believe. I got going and bought a couple cars. And my whole thing was I like to do everything myself. I like to do chassis, welding, wiring, paint, all that stuff. Pretty much because I didn't have a lot of money, and that was the way I was able to do that. It's a passion. I love these cars, and I think I've got 14 cars right now, which is kind of ridiculous, but a few of them need, total build. But let's see, where am I going now?
Well, you started out, you said surfing.
Yeah, I got into surfing when I was a teenager.
Where did you surf at? What beaches?
Well, we lived in Carson, so we would surf at Redondo Beach.
Okay.
Florence Beach and Redondo Beach, yeah.
So what did you throw your board in or on top of?
Well, you had to get somebody's mom to take you to.
Okay. So you weren't when you were surfing, you were too young to drive.
Early teens,
But
yeah.
what did you see at the beach? Do you
didn't see
remember?
Too much, but woodies sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They were popular, and some of the guys, the older guys, had woodies, and or sedan deliveries. There's a big thing. And I've always loved sedan deliveries, but I ended up, as a career as a building engineer. So I was very hands-on, mechanically inclined. So for me, it worked out well to have a hobby that I loved and was pretty good at,
I have to interject, and I don't mean to butter your bread, but most building engineers do not have beyond a spatial concept of real-world fruition of their design. So I have to hand it to you. I probably have known 5 building engineers, electrical engineers, civil engineers, structural engineers that basically couldn't get beyond the abstract. Mm-hmm. But you took and you parlayed that into building cars. So you took your skills and you applied that skill set. Do you remember the first car that you built?
The first car I had was a 39 Ford Deluxe Coupe with a flathead. I think I paid $350 for it, and drove it home and realized flathead's cracked. Overheated right away. So I eventually ended up putting a Chevy motor in there, 3-speed trans, Chevy rear end, and upgraded the brakes a little bit. I can't remember now. That was a long time ago. Painted it, It was nothing special, but it was fun to drive. And from there, I was given a 30 Dodge truck that I flatbed. It was something that had been sitting for many years. I drug it home and bought a 64 Comet, and I used everything. I used the 289 motor, automatic, rear end, gas tank, you name it. I used it all on that thing. Low buck deal, and had a little fun with that. I built the cab out of, like a C cab, and that was the second car. But from then I got a Model A Roadster, and let me think. I've had several cars, but it's hard to remember when I got what. But I was always the guy that would work my 8 hours and go home and spend a couple hours in the garage every day, every weekend, and that's the way I got things done.
Now, when you started building, where did you live?
I lived in Carson.
Okay.
And I bought a small house in 1976 in Wilmington with a 1-car garage, which wasn't much, but I ended up buying a 36 panel truck, built it in that small garage.
Boy, that is small.
It was small. Yeah.
For a panel truck.
Yeah, it was a big truck, And eventually I ended up with a Deuce 5 window that I built. And that's when I started meeting a lot of the local guys that were hot rodders, and we got a big group together, and we would go, to Turlock or to Merced and those different kind of runs, and that kept my wife happy because she liked doing it, and my first wife, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun getting together with a lot of people.
Now, when did you start racing? Because you had mentioned we were talking at the curb.
All I've really done is the vintage racing, like the Trog.
Oh, so you did race a gentleman?
Yeah, I did that at Santa Barbara.
That's great. So you did West Coast,
Yeah,
and you had mentioned you'd raced against Timmy McMaster.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And someday you hope, your dream is, if you win the lottery, to have him build you an engine. But you had gone against him. So basically it was kind of more sport
Yeah.
than really for
yes.
for prize money or for fame and
It's
fortune.
camaraderie.
It's
really
camaraderie.
a lot of fun.
How many years did you do trog?
Oh, just that one.
Just what?
But
but it was worth it.
Yeah, but I did the hop up drags where they had it up in Santa Margarita, and I did that a few times. And in fact, I even built a Model T flathead powered T, like a track roadster, to do that. You know, and I still got that car, and had a ball. Really did. That was so much fun. They put those runs on to you know, they catered to the participants, you know, and it was just amazing. It was, you know, not that you know, trying to win, trying to
Right.
beat everybody.
Right.
I mean, there are people that do that, but that wasn't my thing. I just wanted to get out there and have fun, and I really enjoyed that. So, but I've never really drag raced seriously. Just I like building cars. My whole thing is building.
Now we were at the curb talking, and I had mentioned Jake Jacobs.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also mentioned Victor Leone, who's in Apple Valley, and they live close to each other. Who else do you remember from those days, from the 60s and 70s? Because you had mentioned that Jake Jacobs was a mentor to you, an inspiration to you.
Yeah.
Was there anybody else that is still with us that inspired
It was
you?
pretty much everybody involved with Hot Rod and Hot Rod Magazine, and Rod and Custom in particular.
Okay.
Man, I would devour that magazine when it came. I'm talking, you know, from like about 68 to whatever, 73.
Now, is that back when you stopped by the newsstand when it came out? Stop by the store and get a copy, or did
I
it
always
get?
had a subscription.
You had a subscription. Oh, so you
make sure I got
you
it.
had enough money, so you had it delivered to home. Okay, all right.
And you know, Bud Bryan was the editor at that time. He was great. I mean, I learned so much from just reading those magazines. you
Right.
know. I didn't know how to paint until I read the articles that Bud Bryan did. You know, and Jake was the same way. I mean, he'd build cars and show you how to do things. And I tell you what, that's my beginning, basically.
So the magazines were a
60s.
great help to you because you couldn't always pick up the phone and call somebody on the weekend on a late night,
It was quite
but
different.
you could go to the magazine and you could read that article again.
Right.
And this is, of course, way before the internet.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have a buddy there rubbing shoulders with you or turning a wrench, you had to have some source material.
Yeah.
So the hot rod magazines were
Right.
what you turned to. Now we had mentioned, have you ever been to Famosa Drag Strip?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we had mentioned, and this is for folks, this is kind of a plug, Bakersfield Swap Meet, the pre-war swap meet that was held for more than 30 years in Bakersfield, California in April of each year. It was the kickoff for the swap meet season. It's moved to Famosa Drag Strip, and last year was the first inaugural year for it. It's at Famosa Drag Strip, which is north of Bakersfield but south of Tulare and Visalia, and it was a tremendous success. And next year there's going to be even a bigger representation of the hot rod crowd. It was a lot of early brass cars and pre-war stuff, mostly Model Ts, Model As, stuff like that, but not really the early V8s. And I had extended an invitation for Lynn to come, and Jake Jacobs was there last year. I'm trying to get Victor Leone to come, but and hopefully Lynn will make an appearance too. How do you feel about the swap meets? Do you see
Oh, I
them
love
as being
swap meets.
important?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, most of my cars are built with small swap meet parts. I'm telling you, I'm thrifty.
Right.
I have to admit that.
Right.
And that's how I was able to do it. I mean, I couldn't take a credit card and buy everything off the internet. You didn't have anything back then. I mean, you had speed shops that, you know, you'd have to go buy a motor mount kit or whatever, but you know, it wasn't like it is today. It was, you had to go to the junkyard or the swap meet,
Right.
piece these things together, or buy a car and strip it and use whatever you could out of the car.
And a lot of times you had to buy more than you needed because you didn't know what
Yeah.
the hell you did
Yeah.
need, and you didn't
I
have
still do
basically a
that.
pull-apart place that you could go down to. So I've extended an invitation to Lynn, first weekend in May, Bakersfield Swap Meet. vendor move-in day is all day Thursday. Swapping is Friday and Saturday. But I'm hoping Lynn will come. I'm hoping Jake will come again. And I'm hoping all of you watching this video will come. I'm a big believer in the swap meet experience. Mm-hmm. The inspiration came from surfing and building model cars for Lynn. But it could be the same for you. It could be an uncle. It could be a family member. It could be a guy that took you, like Robert Taylor, who went drifting in a Corvette with a blown motor when he was 16, and he couldn't even drive in the dirt roads of Oklahoma. Whatever it was, you need to experience that with youngsters and with teenagers. And we need to get them into the hobby for the hobby to continue. So when we're all gone and we're, the hobby will still be alive and it'll still be going. So tell me, what is the oldest car that you have other than the one that I loaded up?
I've got that track roadster that I drag raced. It's a 25.
So when did you get done with that? In the 70s?
No, that was no. I built that strictly to take to the Toronto. 2012 was it?
So you've had that for
years now.
So you've had that for at least
not too long.
Not too long, 12, 13 years.
Yeah, I guess it has been that long. Yeah.
So what other one do you have that you've had for a while?
I've got a 34 Ford sedan delivery that.
Is that the one on the street?
Yeah, the red one.
Yeah, I how long have you had that one?
I bought that in 1976.
Okay.
But it was a project until probably early 80s. Yeah.
Wow.
And what usually happens is you got a car you're working on and then you buy something else. Well, your focus goes on that something else, unfortunately. And I built a Deuce Victoria in that time frame in the early 80s that came out really good. I still got it.
Would you say that's your favorite build?
Well, not so much as my favorite, but probably my nicest car.
What's your personal favorite? Which one do you?
Probably my 3-window. I got a Deuce 3-window that's been in magazines, a few magazines.
Okay, and that's the one that that's the one that you'd favor. If there was a fire, that's the one that would get out to the curb.
It's kind of a blue
first.
Green. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that one's probably my favorite. It's kind of funny that I was after that car for 30 years, and guess who had it? My friend Jim, that I'm just selling my truck to.
Now this is where
it's the same thing.
This is kind of interesting, folks, because I have these deja vu moments. The transport prior to this, I went to Metropolitan Pit Stop and I did an interview with third generation owner Justin, and I had been there before, at least been down the alley, and I'd been down this street. I was telling Lynn, I've been down the street, and it was to a neighbor right around the corner, literally. And now I'm finding out Jim's been coveting Lynn's truck, and here, Lynn got Jim's.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
He bought this 3-window back in the 70s.
Wow.
And I did the chassis for him probably in the early 80s. I was doing a lot of side work then when I needed money. I had kids and a wife who spent a lot of money, so I had to do a lot of extra side work. And I got that car from him in 2011, I think it was, when I retired, yeah. And he just figured he couldn't finish it, So I had first right of refusal on it, so we came up with an agreement. I got it, and within 2 years, I think I had it running, He really enjoyed seeing that car on the road because he's had it since the 70s and it never ran when he had it. But yeah, that's probably my favorite car right now. I mean, I got so many, and it's hard. It's like having kids. Which one's your favorite?
Right.
You can't have favorites.
You can, but you don't say it.
You can, but yeah,
It's in your heart. It's in your heart, but it never passes your lips. Well, I'm going to leave on this note because Lynn's spent 20 minutes of his time now. It's interesting as he's speaking how friends help each other finish things.
Yeah.
And we spoke at the curb about passion, about how hot rods are passion. Any type of car hobby is passion. But it's interesting. Few folks probably know Jackson Browne started Taking It Easy, the song that he gave to the Eagles to finish, Glenn Frey. They were basically in the same apartment complex. Jackson Browne couldn't finish the song, so he gave it to Glenn to finish. And that became one of their biggest hits, the Eagles' biggest hits. So friends helped each other out in the pursuit of passion in music. And so you have that in hot rods too.
Oh, yeah.
And you have that in the hot rod culture. And I didn't think of that until now,
Yeah.
which is whatever your passion is, you folks out there watching this, whether it's hot rods, classic cars, old classic cars, rat rods, whatever you have, it's great. Motorcycles, it's great. Pursue it. Pursue it. And involve yourself with people and surround yourself with people that nourish the hobby and help each other out. We're all here to help each other out. Lynn's been very gracious with his time. This is one of the living legends. These are the people that you've heard of, but you never put a face to a name. Well, now you have. So if you see him, shake his hand, tell him thank you. And I want to have him know that the hobby thanks him for the work he's done. Tell us about some of the things you've organized that people may or may not know.
I wish I could remember the years, but I started a run down in Palos Verdes.
Right.
And I just invited people that I knew that had cool cars.
That was 2007, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I read on the internet.
I was living in Torrance, and when I got stressed out, I'd take this drive around the peninsula, and it was just so beautiful.
Right.
And calming, and I said, you know what, this would be great to do a run, So I organized that, and we did it probably, 5 times? Something like that. And we were able to stop at different shops and see all the cool stuff in the area, and people really, really enjoyed it. And the hard part was trying to limit it to 60, 70 cars.
Manageable.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because everybody wanted to go.
Yeah.
And I felt kind of bad, and I forgot to invite this guy or whatever. But it turned out to be really. And I tried to keep it the local guys in Lomita, Torrance, Redondo. But I would invite friends from
Right.
out of town, and they'd come because it was a good run. It's really, really fun. So I did that, probably 5 different ones, yeah. And nobody knew who I was up until I started working, doing side work for the Choppers, the Burbank Choppers. Did John Fisher's car first, and I just got the car mechanically safe so they could take it home and finish it.
Right.
And then Keith Wiesner did his car, did a little bit for Aaron and the Choppers, and Sandy, and Darren too. Yeah, I did a little bit on Darren. So the steering wasn't quite right on his 3-window coupe, so we straightened that out. And I did it because I needed the money, but then these guys they're Hollywood types, so everybody knows them.
Right.
And they gave me credit for helping them out, which was great. And from then on, I get people, saying they know who I am. I don't know why, but a lot of it came from that, doing that, helping them get their cars going. And that was the whole goal: help them get it going, make sure it's safe, and make sure they don't screw up on something. They were all pretty green. And they didn't know, how the steering worked, or how to set your motor and your pinion and all that stuff. So I was able to do that stuff for them, and it was kind of fun,
I was telling Lynn, we need to get back to that. We need to get back to when I extended a hand to you to shake it, not to put my palm up and get it greased. We need to get back to turning the wheel. We need to get back to the basics. Because we're here to help each other out, folks. We're not here to make a buck. You'll make ends meet at the end of the day, but if you get up every day and you try to help each other out, which is what Lynn's doing here, someone will see this, maybe they'll get inspired. Someone will talk to him. He helped people out. He inspired people. People inspired him. Let's get back to that. Let's get back to helping a hand, you know, and rather than greasing a palm. So thank you again, Lynn. This time I will wrap it up. We're going on 24 minutes. Everybody out there, drive safe, arrive alive. This is Freighter Jim. Thank you for watching the video. And remember, patronize your local swap meet. Bring your kids, bring your grandkids. Renew friendships, make new ones, but come and attend. If you don't buy anything, if you don't sell anything, you're still going to have one of the best days of your life. All right, Lynn, anything to add?
Nope, that's pretty good. We covered it all, I think.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay.
Greetings from the road. This is Freighter Jim. It's a rainy morning here, January 2nd. I've been transporting vehicles since 2006, over 2,300 vehicles to date. I've never had a story like this. This is a story of a friendship that's lasted at least four decades, 40 years, 50 years, between two guys, Lynn Bird, who's a noted home-built hot rod legend, and everything he builds for himself, but he helps other people out with their cars. And it's his friend Jim Hamlin that I'm at his home right now. If you look right here on the right, you're going to see a hot rod Ford 32 pickup truck that was made by Lynn Bird. Here's the write-up of it in one of the hot rod magazines. So on the right, you see pictures of this truck. Jim has wanted this truck for at least 20 years, probably longer, and Lynn just didn't really have the heart to sell it. But recently that changed, and Jim contacted me to pick this truck up and bring it up to him in Auburn, Washington. Here's two friends. Now the car in the rear, I believe, does that belong to Lynn?
This one was mine.
Okay, that's Jim's. So here you see a tour. Jim Hamlin, who's you're going to meet in a couple minutes, he basically has the car in the rear. The car in the front is owned by Lynn. It's a car that he built. That's Lynn's build. The car behind it, that's Jim's build. So you have Lynn and Jim together on a tour, which is what friends do. We're going to go over here to this side. You see some vehicles that used to be at Jim's home when he lived in Lancaster, California. Okay? And then we're going to go over here to this side. And up here on the top left, you're going to see a car that Jim built and some other cars, some black and whites, that were also cars that he owned. Now, below the build that Jim built, you're going to see a black and white brownie picture of a 32 Ford. Okay, that car is significant because that car comes into play, and we'll tell you about that in a couple of minutes. So we're moving down here. Here's some more pictures. And on the bottom two, is that another one of Lynn Bird's builds, the yellow? The orange?
The oranges, yes.
Okay, and then let's move over here to the article. This is the feature that I want to tell you about. Because remember this black and white photo right here? This car belonged to Jim Hamlin. So what, about 40 years ago? 40 years ago, Jim sells this car because this car, he had lost interest in building it. He had an incident where it almost went through the garage. And this is down in Lancaster, right? So San Pedro. So San Pedro?
Yeah.
That's where Kim Dobbins lives. San Pedro. Hi, Kim. That became this. Lynn Bird built that car into this. So two friends with a friendship spanning over 40 years, probably close to 50 years, maintained their friendship through car builds. And because part of the reason Jim passed this car along that Lynn turned into this, Lynn passed his hot rod truck back to Jim. And that brings you to today. So what I'm going to do is take a seat, and we're going to talk now with Jim Hamlin. And Jim's going to tell you about growing up in Southern California, and he's going to tell you about his friendship with Lynn Bird. And so let me grab a seat here. And Jim, you take it away. Tell us, when did you first meet Lynn Bird?
I met Lynn through another friend. Lynn, the other friend, was looking to buy a 36 Ford panel truck. And he happened to spot Lynn towing one home.
And you guys were both in your 20s.
Yeah, late 20s.
Yeah.
Anyway, he stopped Lynn and asked him about it, and they struck up a friendship because they both liked 36s. Well, in the meantime, that friend of mine found one with windows. And so he and I went to pick it up. Well, Lynn came over to look at it, and we all kind of, formed a friendship there. Lynn had a 29 C-cab Dodge flatbed truck, which was really cool. And
so we're talking 50 plus years ago when this initially happened.
Well,
because you're 80 now,
45, yeah,
45, and so you guys were basically, you were in your 20s, sometime in your 20s.
Yeah.
So it had to be 50 some years ago, 50 plus years ago.
That's true.
Doing the math, I know we're all getting older, but in our heart we're younger. So there came a point, you guys are growing up, raising a family. Back then, you would get your parts at swap meets to build your cars. And basically you had mentioned, because Lynn was probably, because he was a building engineer and he could visualize, he ended up with the plum parts somehow. He ended up with the parts that people wanted. So he always bought smart, because if he didn't use them, he could sell them.
Sure.
So he was the guy that was always choosing parts wisely at the swap meets and such. So at what point, moving the clock forward a little bit, did you decide to sell him that black and white that turned into the cover car that he built, one of his many home-built hot rods?
That, oh gosh.
40 years ago, huh?
Yeah, probably, yeah, at least that.
Now, you were still living down in Southern Cal.
Yes, in San Pedro, yes.
So basically that car, what was the accident, or do you not care to relive it?
Well,
What happened in the garage that put that project into the wall, so to speak?
I had a 27T Roadster pickup, full fendered, Chevy powered, and it was a really nice build. But it was very difficult to handle. The shift mechanism and the key switch and the light switch and everything were on the floor underneath the seat.
Oh, geez.
That was back in the 70s when you hid everything.
Right.
Okay. And the shifter was a lever that you pulled up and pushed down. There was no button, no nothing. You just pulled it up and pushed it down. And I fired the car up outside the garage, and the throttle stuck. And I hit that lever, and it went into drive. And basically, it plowed through a bunch of bins of Christmas ornaments and pushed the three-window coupe out the back of the garage.
It went completely out the back of the garage.
Well, halfway.
Wow.
Yeah, the front end was hanging. Fortunately, at the time the rear end was hanging. There was no engine in it at the time, but the body and everything.
The weight, had there been an engine, definitely wouldn't. No part of it would be in the garage. So it's sitting there teeter-tottering, if you will.
Yeah.
And at that point, or shortly thereafter, you're like, you know what? Push comes to shove. I'm not going to finish this, and now I really don't have the heart to finish it. And so, did Lynn come to mind, or was he already after that?
Oh, he'd been after it for quite a while.
So he'd been after that car, just like you've been after his truck.
Yes.
He had had the metal rust lust for your vehicle, like you had for his hot rod pickup.
Absolutely.
Did you have any idea it would ever become a feature car in a hot rod magazine?
No, I never did until Lynn got it.
Right.
And Lynn started working on it. See, it smashed up the back end of the car quite a bit.
Right.
But I had bought all of the repair panels for it and had those. I just didn't have the expertise to put it back together.
So from the time that you passed ownership, how long do you think it took him to turn it into what it became in the hot rod magazine? A few years?
No, I don't think it took a whole year.
It didn't even take a whole year. And keep in mind, Lynn did everything himself. He basically did everything. He did his body work. He did his welding. He did his wiring. He did his painting even.
He upholstered
it even. He did everything on that car himself. And he was doing it after his day job.
That's
because you guys are raising a family. So in his 20s, he turns that,
30s, yeah.
or late 20s, early 30s, he turns that into a hot rod feature magazine.
Yeah. And here's an interesting thing. The orange 32.5 window.
Right.
That you have pictures of there.
Right.
Okay. When he finished that, it was yellow.
Okay.
He offered that to me for the 3 window and $5,000.
Oh my goodness.
And I didn't make the trade, which was dumb on my part. However, he did finally wind up with a 3 window. And that 5 window that's painted orange, he sold to a guy that brought it up here to Washington, or actually to Oregon. And I took those pictures in Washington at the Yakima Rod Run one year.
Well, you really didn't do a bad thing, because had you not done that, you may not have gotten his pickup truck back.
That's quite true.
So his pickup truck, he had 3 Ford pickup trucks that he owned? 332 Fords?
Or he only had only the one that I know of.
Only the one, but he had sedan deliveries too. He favored those.
Oh, he loves
sedan deliveries.
And panel trucks.
Okay, and right now, because I'm not revealing any photos, right now the project that you are aware of that he's currently working on, and has been working on for a while, what's the next project do you think that is going to be coming?
Well, I'd love to see him finish the 36 sedan delivery that he's building. It's kind of an Art Deco car patterned after one in the, I think, probably the late 50s that belonged to one of the, at that time, premier hot rod builder things. I think they might have done axles or excuse me, something like that. But they delivered stuff.
You know what?
Really
that sounds like Jake Jacobs' build, because he did a sedan delivery that's very well known, that still exists. It still exists with original artwork in Apple Valley, California. And I know because my friend Jim Holguin was talking to Jake Jacobs at Bakersfield pre-war swap meet, first weekend in May of this year, and Jake was telling Jim that that's still there. That's still there. And I bet you we're talking about the same sedan delivery, because it was very famous. It got written up in hot rod magazines, and
it was in a magazine. Yes.
It still exists. So this is going to lead me into what I'm wrapping up on. I've offered here to Jim, and I've offered to Lynn a space to sell their stuff at Bakersfield Pre-War Swap Meet, which is now located permanently at Famosa Drag Strip. And the swap meet will be the first weekend in May. And God willing, Jim will come down, Lynn will come up, and it'll be a get-together for these guys, face-to-face, and maybe they'll have some parts to sell. But tell me, back in the day, pretty much everything you picked up was at swap meets or trading amongst your friends, right? But the swap meets had a real important part.
Very important. That was where you got your parts, how you found your parts, how you found out about parts that people that didn't go to the swap meet had. And you could go and contact them and buy stuff. There was no internet. Occasionally you'd see some advertising in some of the magazines, but not so much for swap meet parts, although the early hot rod magazines had swap spaces in them. That's pretty much how we got our stuff.
And Lynn had mentioned to me in our interview that he picked up a lot of tips as far as how to weld, how to do body work, how to lay paint from the hot rod magazines. Did you find that to be helpful to you too?
Without a doubt.
Do you still occasionally pull out a book to get some advice? One of the hot rod magazines? Do you ever go back and just kind of browse through those?
I have a couple left. I used to have a garage wall full of them.
Wow.
You know, the entire length of a two-car garage.
Right.
Stacked almost to the ceiling.
Right.
Unfortunately, I had to move from California to Washington.
So you could move them.
I had to get rid of them.
Okay.
And unfortunately, most of them went in a dumpster.
Now, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this up? Because I know you got things to do. There's snow moving in later today. I have things to do. Your brother's tending to the fire. There's a garage here where him and his brother, currently you have 3 projects or 4 projects between the two of you?
I actually have 5.
5 projects between the two of them. Does that include the Roadster pickup that I just brought to you, or the Ford pickup, the 32 Ford?
No, that doesn't include it.
That doesn't include it?
Yeah, I have 3 32s down there, 29 Roadster pickup, a 47 Ford Coupe. He has a 36 Dodge 2-door sedan with a blown Hemi in it, and a 37 Dodge pickup truck with a small block Dodge motor, and the 68 Roadrunner that he bought brand new in high school.
Tell us about the Ford pickup that's sitting underneath the garage cover. Did we talk about that?
No, we didn't. That's a 57 Ford pickup truck. I'd wanted one for a long time. I'd owned a 48 F1 and 52 to 56 F100s. I'd owned all of those and built them and sold them. And I wanted a 57, so I found this, fortunately, in Auto Trader and bought it cheap. Since then, I bought 2 more.
So between you and your brother on the property right now, how many complete vehicles do you have either completely done or in the progress of being done? How many between the two of you, if we count up complete cars, how many do you have?
2 complete cars running.
Right.
Now 3 with the pickup truck.
Right.
And I think 8 project.
So a little bit of work.
A little bit.
And you and your brother are out there working just about every day that you're healthy enough or the weather will allow. Your shop is enclosed.
Yeah.
You had mentioned a powder coater that you sent a frame to.
Sent 2.
And the powder coater noticed problems with the welds and redid them before the powder coating was applied and gave you a touch-up. He basically is one of the suppliers that you use to outsource. You have a guy doing wiring on one of your vehicles right now. Yeah. So you have your own network here of specialty folks that do various aspects that you and your brother don't work on themselves. You have a wiring guy. You have a guy, obviously, that does power coating and frames. I have a snapshot of his business card. So that still hasn't changed. That hasn't changed in the past 40, 50 years. You still have a network of people that you take and have things done for you. Yeah. Is there anything that you want to say to folks out there in the hot rod community as we draw and wrap this up to a close?
Well, the big thing is to kind of share. My brother and I have a lot of friends that are building things or interested in things. And we share back and forth, both stories and parts and pieces. We've been doing that for a long time. We've given parts to people to help them get their project finished. And in turn, they have done the same thing. And this is how the whole thing works for us. Because we managed to finish our projects with their help, and they finished theirs with our help.
So folks, we're talking about a hot rod family. And this family applies to all collectors in all aspects of the hobby, whether it's Model Ts, Model As, customs, rat rods, street rods. It's a family effort. So folks out there, go to swap meets. Take young'uns to swap meets. Renew old friendships. Make new ones. Help each other out. Help each other out. The internet's great, but it's no substitute for person-to-person contact. And trust has to be established when you sit down face-to-face with someone, or whether you sell them a part or buy a part from them. That's the basis for everything you do on the internet. And imagine if the internet was no more and you had to go back to the way these guys did back in the day. This is the second or third wave of the hot rod culture in the 70s, but this is one of the few gentlemen still with us and still active in the hobby that's willing to sit down and share his story. This is Freighter Jim, touching out, reaching out. I'm here in the Seattle area with Jim Hamlin, telling you, drive safe, arrive alive. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for your time. And thank you for your friendship with Lynn. And your brother's coming in the door. That's good timing. All right, folks. Thanks for watching my video.